Speak freezing streets. People standing in endless lines just to buy bread. Millions of soldiers dying at the front. And far away, in a grand palace, a ruler who believed he was chosen by God, but had no idea how to save his country. This is the story of the Russian Revolution of 1917, an event so dramatic, so chaotic, and so world-changing that it reshaped the entire 20th century. This wasn't just a change of government, it was the collapse of an empire, the execution of a royal dynasty, and the birth of communism as a global force. And once the chain of events begins, it's impossible to look away. The cracks in the empire. By 1917, Russia was one of the largest empires on Earth. It was ruled by Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia. The problem? He wasn't a strong leader. He ruled with absolute power. Political opposition was crushed. Workers labored 12 to 14 hours a day in brutal factory conditions. Peasants lived in deep poverty. Then came the fatal mistake. Russia entered World War I. The war devastated the country. Millions of soldiers were killed or wounded. Food shortages became severe. The transportation system collapsed. Inflation skyrocketed. And what did the Tsar do? He personally went to the front to command the army. It was meant to inspire confidence. Instead, it tied him directly to every military defeat. Back in the capital, his wife was left in charge, and her closest advisor was a mysterious, controversial monk, Grigory Rasputin. Rasputin, the unkillable monk. Rasputin's rise to power sounds like something from a movie. He was a peasant from Siberia, yet somehow he gained influence over the royal family. Why? Because he seemed able to ease the suffering of the Tsar's sick son. That was enough. Soon, ministers were being appointed and dismissed under Rasputin's influence. Rumors spread everywhere. Russia isn't ruled by the Tsar, it's ruled by Rasputin. Nobles were furious. The public was outraged, so a group of aristocrats decided to assassinate him. According to legend, they poisoned him. He didn't die. They shot him. He still moved. Finally, they threw him into an icy river. While historians debate the details, the myth of Rasputin's impossible death spread like wildfire. But killing Rasputin didn't solve anything, because the real problem wasn't one man, it was the entire system. The February Revolution, the empire falls. February 1917. It started with women protesting for bread. Workers joined them, factories shut down, strikes spread across the capital. The government ordered soldiers to suppress the crowds. But something unexpected happened. The soldiers refused. Many of them joined the protesters instead. In that moment, the empire collapsed. Within days, Nicholas II abdicated the throne. Just like that, 300 years of Romanov rule ended. Russia was no longer an empire, but the chaos was only beginning. The provisional government. Hope and mistakes. After the Tsar stepped down, a provisional government was formed. They promised democracy, freedom of speech, civil rights. For a brief moment, it felt like a new beginning. But they made one critical mistake. They continued the war. The people were exhausted. They didn't want patriotic speeches. They wanted peace. They wanted bread. They wanted land. And into this frustration stepped a man who would change history. Lenin, the man with a plan. His name was Vladimir Lenin. Lenin had been living in exile, but in 1917, Germany allowed him to travel back to Russia in a sealed train. Why would Germany do that? because they knew Lenin would destabilize Russia from within and possibly pull it out of the war. They were right. When Lenin arrived in Petrograd, he delivered a simple but powerful message: peace, land, bread. 3 words, that's all it took. While the provisional government hesitated, Lenin and the Bolsheviks organized. They promised to end the war immediately. They promised to give land to peasants. They promised power to the workers. And people listened. October Revolution, seizing power. October 1917, the Bolsheviks made their move. They took control of bridges, railway stations, communication centers. Then they surrounded the Winter Palace, the seat of the provisional government. The takeover was surprisingly swift. There was no massive, dramatic battle like in the movies. It was almost quiet. Within hours, the government fell. The Bolsheviks were now in power. This event became known as the October Revolution, and it marked the beginning of a new era. Civil War. Russia tears itself apart. But seizing power is easier than keeping it. From 1918 to 1921, Russia was plunged into a brutal civil war. The Reds, the Bolsheviks; the Whites, Tsar supporters and anti-communist forces. Foreign countries even intervened. The country descended into chaos. Famine spread. Millions died. In the end, the Reds won. Lenin and the Bolsheviks had secured control. The birth of a superpower. In 1922, a new state was officially created, the Soviet Union. What began as revolution became a global power. Later, under leaders like Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union would industrialize rapidly, defeat Nazi Germany, and become one of the 2 superpowers of the Cold War. All of it traced back to 1917. Final reflection. The Russian Revolution teaches us something powerful. When a country is pushed to the edge by war, by hunger, by inequality, by leaders disconnected from reality, change doesn't come quietly. It explodes. In 1917, an empire that had ruled for centuries collapsed in a matter of days, and from its ashes rose a new ideology that would shape the world for decades. The Russian Revolution wasn't just Russia's story. It was the beginning of a new world order.